The Factor Uncensored. A man in Louisiana will have a permanent reminder of the punishment for raping a 14-year-old girl. Not only will Glenn Sullivan Sr. be headed to prison for the next 50 years, a judge has ordered that his balls be removed. My next guest demanded Sullivan be physically castrated.
Albuquerque police have arrested an 11-year-old boy accused of taking part in a violent crime spree. APD took a minor into custody after gathering evidence from several witnesses. Detectives were able to identify the juvenile and issue an arrest warrant.
An unsettling situation in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi to be exact. It's been revealed 215 bodies were buried in unmarked graves behind a state jail in Jackson, of course. Attorney Ben Crump is now calling for an investigation. Families of the dead reportedly had no idea until last month. Some of them, those grave sites were only labeled by a number. In
the span of less than 15 hours, Newberry police are investigating the deaths of 4 teenagers who were all shot in the Y Street community. The first shooting was Sunday, just after midnight. The victim, a 16-year-old. Then, around 3 p.m., 3 more teens were shot and killed.
The murder rate in various states across the United States can be influenced by a myriad of complex and interrelated factors. Economic challenges, social issues, and systemic problems within the criminal justice system are common contributors to high homicide rates. This essay explores the underlying causes of high murder rates in these states, examining how economic instability, educational deficiencies, widespread firearm availability, and other factors contribute to the prevalence of violent crime. By understanding these factors, we can better appreciate the multifaceted nature of crime and the need for comprehensive strategies to address it.
In the last hour, 6 former Mississippi officers were sentenced to 15 to 45 years in prison on state charges in the assault and torture of 2 black men. The officers pleaded guilty to charges including hindering prosecution, burglary, home invasion, and aggravated assault.
Now, this all comes after the group, which called themselves the Goon Squad, also pleaded guilty to separate federal charges last year, and they were sentenced to terms of 10 to 40 years in prison.
An unsettling situation in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi to be exact. It's been revealed 215 bodies were buried in unmarked graves behind a state jail in Jackson, of course. Attorney Ben Crump is now calling for an investigation. Families of the dead reportedly had no idea until last month. Some of them, those grave sites were only labeled by a number and a metal rod.
For a murder suspect. On Friday, authorities say 30-year-old Joshua Zimmerman escaped from a courthouse in Hernando, Mississippi, about 26 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee.
This individual is he's very violent. He's conniving. He will do anything he can to try to elude.
According to officials, Zimmerman was transported from jail to the courtroom with a group of other inmates, but he disappeared as he was in line to enter.
She was sexually assaulted by a Senatobia police officer.
Nobody deserves to go through that. The law is supposed to protect you.
The city of Senatobia, Mississippi is under a duty to operate its policing activities lawfully to preserve the peace of the city of Senatobia. However, Santara Jackson says her civil rights were violated during a traffic stop.
Like I was having nightmares and stuff.
Last summer, Jackson says she was a passenger in her fiance's car driving through Sardis, Mississippi. Suddenly, she says blue and red flashing lights appeared in the rearview mirror. You can see the Sardis police officer demanding Jackson's boyfriend to get inside the police cruiser. Then, the Sardis police officer, known as Willis McNeil, proceeded to arrest her.
Turn around.
What you mean?
Turn around.
But instead of going to the police station, Jackson says she was taken into the woods.
He bent me over the car, and he took the cuffs off and he violated me.
Confused and scared, Jackson says she had no way of escaping. She says Officer Neal called the station to tell them she was getting a courtesy ride back home.
My next thought was just making it home to my
had
children.
The most homicides per capita last year, while also breaking that another record of numbers of murders in the city. This while Jackson police are still working to get boots in the ground, and that was for the nation as well.
Well, it's how half the bills announced today by Lieutenant Governor Hosemann address property it's being stolen and carjacking. Now, Senate Bill 2101 sets the minimum sentence for carjacking at 5 years with a maximum of 15 years, and for armed carjacking, a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 30 years
The
would
high
apply.
murder rate in Mississippi, particularly in Jackson, can be attributed to a complex interplay of factors. Economic challenges and persistent poverty create environments where crime can thrive. Many residents face limited economic opportunities, leading some to engage in illegal activities out of desperation. The widespread availability of guns, including semi-automatic assault rifles, exacerbates the situation. State laws in Mississippi make it difficult for law enforcement to detain suspects carrying illegal firearms, contributing to increased violence and murders. Additionally, the state's criminal justice system is plagued by issues such as a backlog of cases, a strained court system, and overcrowded detention facilities. These challenges hinder the swift processing of cases and the effective detention of offenders, resulting in repeat offenses and a cycle of violence. Compounding these problems is a significant shortage of police officers in Jackson, which hampers the ability to investigate and prevent homicides effectively. Social factors also play a critical role. The breakdown in trust between the police and the communities they serve has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic and high-profile incidents of police violence nationwide. This distrust leads to lower cooperation with law enforcement and hinders crime prevention efforts. Addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach involving economic development, effective gun control measures, improvements in the criminal justice system, and efforts to rebuild trust between law enforcement and communities.
Factor Uncensored. A man in Louisiana will have a permanent reminder of the punishment for raping a 14-year-old girl. Not only will Glenn Sullivan Sr. be headed to prison for the next 50 years, a judge has ordered that his balls be removed. My next guest demanded Sullivan be physically castrated.
In a story that investigative reporter Mike Pearlstein broke this morning, 2 people have been indicted for the murder of a key cooperating witness. It's part of the massive federal fraud case involving staged accidents with 18-wheelers. Good evening, and thanks for watching. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. So this scheme involves people claiming fake injuries and collecting settlements from bogus lawsuits. Mike has followed the story from the very beginning. Breaking news along the way. Now joining us in studio on this dramatic development, Mike.
Well, that's right, Sharice, Katie. In something of a surprise and certainly a blockbuster development, 2 people now stand accused of not just participating in the fraud scheme, but also in the murder of a fellow scammer who worked closely with accident attorneys and had become a cooperating federal witness.
State and local leaders are demanding answers after 43-year-old French Quarter tour guide Christy Thibodeau was shot and killed on St. Peter Street in June.
We need to get to the bottom of this, figure out where the system failed, and close those gaps.
Her alleged killer, a teenager, already convicted of domestic abuse battery and 7 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm. Police say when he fired the shots, he should have been wearing an ankle monitor.
After Shreveport police responded to several shots fired call in that area at the MLK neighborhood on Pearl Avenue and Jones Mayberry Road. Now, we do know that there were 2 people that were pronounced dead at the scene, and then one was pronounced dead shortly after he arrived here at Ochsner LSU.
Glad you're with us this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Gordon Boyd.
I'm Natasha Williams. Our top story at 5, we now know the names of 2 men accused of terrorizing a woman and yelling a racist slur to her at the West Monroe Super Walmart. It happened back on Thursday, November 29th. The woman says 2 men were calling her the N-word as she was leaving the store. Now, they began chasing after her as she drove off, pushing a shopping cart into the back of her car. The 2 men drove off before officers got there, though.
Louisiana's high murder rate, particularly in cities like New Orleans, can be attributed to a combination of economic, social, and systemic factors. The state has one of the highest poverty rates in the country, with 19.6% of residents living below the poverty line, compared to the national average of 12.8%. High poverty levels and economic instability often lead to higher crime rates, as individuals facing economic desperation may turn to illegal activities. Additionally, Louisiana struggles with high unemployment rates, further exacerbating economic challenges and contributing to crime. Educational attainment in Louisiana is also notably low, with many students not completing high school. Poor education systems limit job opportunities and perpetuate cycles of poverty and crime. Social disintegration, including broken family structures and a lack of community support, further contributes to the high rates of youth involvement in crime. The widespread availability of firearms in Louisiana increases the likelihood of violent confrontations ending in fatalities. Easy access to guns, coupled with gang-related activities and drug trafficking, intensifies violent crime in the state. Moreover, Louisiana has one of the highest incarceration rates in the country. High incarceration rates can create a cycle of crime by breaking down social and family bonds, reducing community stability, and fostering resentment toward the legal system. The criminal justice system's focus on punishment rather than rehabilitation fails to address the root causes of criminal behavior. Addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach, including economic development, educational reform, effective gun control measures, and community-based initiatives to rebuild trust and social cohesion. Only through comprehensive strategies can the underlying causes of violence in Louisiana be effectively tackled.
These charges were just felony murder and robbery in the first degree, and at that point she was telling me that if the evidence proves otherwise, then at that point the charges could be increased and upgraded to capital murder. And sure enough, just a few hours ago, that evidence came through and that was done.
Well, Jarvis, tonight we're learning that a 14-year-old is being held at the Jefferson County Youth Detention Center in connection to this case, even though the investigation is ongoing. What police do say is that right now they believe that this all was just a tragic accident. They say that this all unfolded around 7 this morning when officers were called to UAB Hospital for a report of a 15-year-old arriving with a gunshot wound. When officers got there, they found that teen shot inside a minivan. He was pronounced dead there at the hospital. Throughout the investigation and cooperation from the other teens who stayed on the scene, aged 14, another 15-year-old, 17, and 18, police were able to learn that this happened at an area near a bank and Walmart on Parkway East. When they got there, they found blood on the ground and a gun in a bush. Investigators learned the group of teens, who were all friends, were riding around in a van when the gun the 14-year-old had in his hands went off. Then they drove that 15-year-old victim to UAB Hospital.
At 5, in an effort to cut back on crime, one state lawmaker from Mobile calling for tougher penalties for people who shoot into cars or buildings, whether they're occupied or not.
Yeah, this is something lawmakers say has been happening a lot. We've reported on this many times. Fox News reporter Dacian Smith has this story.
Alabama Representative Barbara Drummond announcing what she hopes is the first step to cutting back on innocent people being killed by gunfire. She says the bill was inspired by recent crimes, like the December shooting that killed 9-year-old Kaylee Knight while she was sleeping on her couch, and the I-165 shooting that left an innocent 15-year-old.
Right now, law enforcement at a jail in Alabama are investigating. This comes after an inmate died after another prisoner assaulted him. The Alabama Department of Corrections confirmed the death early Tuesday. Derek Martin died. Investigators say Martin and Antonio Thomas were arguing before the assault at the Elmore Correctional Facility. Staff found Martin conscious, but his condition started to get worse. He later died at a hospital.
Several agencies working together to give the port city some relief from crime.
Yeah, right now they're looking to round up more than 24 violent offenders on federal gun charges which could lead to long stretches behind bars.
24 defendants are facing federal gun charges, and about 50 guns have been taken off the street as a part of Operation Focused Recovery.
The high murder rate in Alabama can be attributed to several interrelated factors that contribute to the state's challenging crime environment. Economic hardships play a significant role, as Alabama has high poverty rates and unemployment levels, which create conditions where crime can thrive. Individuals facing economic instability may turn to illegal activities, including violent crimes, as a means of survival. Social issues also contribute to the high murder rate. Alabama experiences significant educational challenges, with many residents lacking access to quality education, leading to limited job opportunities and perpetuating cycles of poverty and crime. Additionally, the state has a high prevalence of firearm ownership, which increases the likelihood of violent confrontations ending in fatalities. The ease of access to guns, combined with high levels of gang activity and drug trafficking, further exacerbates the problem. The criminal justice system in Alabama faces its own set of issues, including high incarceration rates. This can create a cycle of crime by breaking down family and social structures, fostering resentment towards the legal system, and failing to rehabilitate offenders effectively. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic and the nationwide rise in gun.
Albuquerque police have arrested an 11-year-old boy accused of taking part in a violent crime spree. APD took a minor into custody after gathering evidence from several witnesses. Detectives were able to identify the juvenile and issue an arrest warrant. Just last month, News 13 covered one of the instances where a group of 4 boys crashed a stolen car into a gas station on Indian School in Juan Tabo. Caught on surveillance video, the kids are seen stealing cigarettes and causing more than $15,000 in damages. Police say one victim referred to the group of kids as being part of the Kia Boys, a national crime group of minors known to target Kias because they're easy to steal.
Have them right here on the roof. Get on the ground now!
This juvenile male suspect now behind bars after police say he led them on a foot chase.
Get on the ground. Get down on the ground. Get down.
Moments before he's seen tossing this Glock 9mm gun loaded with 100 rounds onto the ground.
Get down.
Recent incidents of gun violence involving teens now sparking concern.
One of the main factors is social media.
Public defender Danica Torres is looking at trends of juvenile homicides over the years.
A woman is facing charges for murdering her 2 children on the Isleta Pueblo. We first brought this to you as breaking news last week. Mariah Zuni was in court today and will stay in custody before her detention hearing. A criminal complaint says she killed her 5-year-old and 9-month-old sons last week.
A fugitive arrested in Mexico is now behind bars in Doña Ana County, accused in a murder case from more than a decade ago. On Wednesday, U.S. Marshals arrested 45-year-old Oswaldo Corral in Ciudad de Chihuahua, Mexico. According to the law enforcement there, Corral was wanted by the Doña Ana County Sheriff's Office for his involvement in a murder in Mesilla Park on November 17, 2008. The officials say that Corral was also wanted by the Las Cruces Police Department for a separate 2008 case that took place just 2 days before that murder. Now, in that case, police say that he shot another man that was in the Sun Lanes Bowling Alley parking lot.
It's something we've heard about for years, a crisis along the United States and Mexico border. Now the FBI here in Albuquerque says that crisis is seeping into our cities across the state, increasing crime. News 13's Madison Connor asked the special agent in charge about it.
Why so much violence? Why so many guns? Why drug trafficking is such a big problem here within the state? Why is there so many overdoses?
Those are just some of the questions Special Agent in Charge Raul Bujanda says the FBI Albuquerque field office receives on a daily basis.
I want to address the problems that we see on our streets, right, which is gun violence, whether it's just regular violence. When it comes to drug trafficking, I want to try to lessen those threats so that we can have a better society.
Today, Bujanda places the blame partly on security challenges at the border.
Part of the problem that we have on the New Mexico side is that we have an incomplete border.
The high murder rate in New Mexico can be attributed to several key factors that contribute to a challenging crime environment. Economic hardships play a significant role, as the state has high poverty rates and limited economic opportunities, which can lead to increased criminal activity. Additionally, New Mexico struggles with educational challenges, with many residents lacking access to quality education, leading to limited job prospects and perpetuating cycles of poverty and crime. Social issues also contribute to the high murder rate. The state experiences significant levels of drug abuse and mental health issues, which are often linked to violent crime. Moreover, the widespread availability of firearms exacerbates the situation, making it easier for violent confrontations to result in fatalities. High levels of gang activity and drug trafficking further intensify the violence in the state. The criminal justice system in New Mexico faces its own set of issues, including high incarceration rates and a focus on punishment rather than rehabilitation. This approach fails to address the root causes of criminal behavior and can contribute to repeat offenses. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic and the nationwide increase in gun sales have also played a role in the rising murder rates.
They'd hit so many times, it's almost become a daily occurrence.
A North Charleston shoplifting ring has a burning desire for Bath & Body Works candles. In June, the store caught a whiff of their suspicious and illegal activity and contacted North Charleston police.
So after reviewing some of the footage, we decided the only way we were going to stop them was to set up a sting operation.
According to affidavits, the suspects would visit the store with a bag, stuff them with candles valued at over $25 each, and leave the store within a matter of seconds. They say some of the suspects visited the store more than once a day.
A man is facing charges for allegedly killing a transgender woman who prosecutors say he was involved with romantically. It marks the first time a federal jury will have to decide whether to punish someone for a crime based on the victim's gender identity.
In the span of less than 15 hours, Newberry police are investigating the deaths of 4 teenagers who were all shot in the Y Street community. The first shooting was Sunday, just after midnight. The victim, a 16-year-old. Then, around 3 p.m., 3 more teens were shot and killed. Newberry Police Chief Kevin Goodman says the victims were between the ages of 15 to 19.
It's sad that the young generation like this getting shot. It just hurt me, you know. And then had a shooting last night. Kid get killed last night. 16 years. It just hurt.
Beginning now with some new crime numbers here in South Carolina. The latest numbers are actually from 2020. They're the latest numbers available, and they show murders across the state increasing over 22%, while aggravated assaults were up over 10% from.
The high murder rate in South Carolina can be attributed to several interrelated factors that create a challenging crime environment. Economic hardships, including high poverty and unemployment rates, contribute significantly to the state's crime issues. Individuals facing economic instability are more likely to engage in illegal activities, including violent crimes. Social issues also play a crucial role. South Carolina has high levels of drug abuse and gang activity, which are often linked to violent crime. The widespread availability of firearms further exacerbates the situation, making it easier for confrontations to escalate into fatalities. Moreover, social disintegration, characterized by broken family structures and limited community support, contributes to the high rates of violence. The criminal justice system in South Carolina faces its own challenges, including high incarceration rates and a focus on punitive measures rather than rehabilitation. This approach often fails to address the root causes of criminal behavior, leading to repeat offenses. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic and the nationwide increase in gun sales have also contributed to the rise in violent crimes, including homicides. The high murder rates in states such as Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, New Mexico, and South Carolina illustrate the intricate web of factors that contribute to violent crime. Economic hardships, social disintegration, and systemic flaws in the criminal justice system are common threads in these states. Addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach that includes economic development, educational reforms, effective gun control measures, and community-based initiatives aimed at rebuilding trust and social cohesion. Only through comprehensive and targeted strategies can the underlying causes of violence be effectively tackled, leading to safer communities across the United States.